Warcraft 3 Reforged is now the worst user-scored game ever on Metacritic. Seriously, that product is so raw, even a login screen looks like a joke. I'd rather have paid them to prevent them from releasing this. Very disappointed with the final product. My disappointment is so massive. Very disappointed. So, why did I buy it? Let me explain. No, it's not because I hate myself or particularly love Warcraft 3 franchise, although that's a part of it. No, the single reason I bought Warcraft 3 Reforged is because of nostalgia. How's it going, you beautiful beasts? Hope you're having a wonderful day. By the way, if you don't want to watch me telling you how Warcraft 3 was my happy place growing up, feel free to skip to this time. Okay, now that the fake friends are gone, I can finally open up. Have you ever just taken a stick off the ground and pretended you were an orc chief or a night elf when you were a kid? And like go on imaginary raids to the garden to get some gold? I'm sure all kids did that, right? When I was growing up, I didn't have internet until like grade 5, so all I could do was play games on my PC. Or hang out with friends, I guess. Anyways, I was playing all sorts of games like GTA Vice City, Heroes of Might and Magic, Sims 2, all that stuff. But if there was an art gallery of all the games I've played, Warcraft 3 would probably be the centerpiece. I spent countless hours playing campaign and custom games with my fellow gamer boys. But like, okay, an honest question. Have you ever been to an internet cafe? For those who haven't, you essentially just rent a PC hourly to play games over LAN with your friends. It doesn't make sense any longer, as every game runs on servers and every household has internet. But back then, it was groundbreaking. Well, at least in my eyes as a kid. Anyways, back to the subject of my bad decision. Nostalgia is the reason I bought Warcraft 3 Reforged. Now the main question, do I hate it? Not at all. The game is exactly how I remembered it. But that's exactly the problem with most people who have actually been waiting for the release of the game, right? Besides some patched up graphics and a couple extra levels in the campaign, the game literally feels identical to what it was 15 years ago. And even the graphics weren't patched up all the way. You see, at the preview at BlizzCon in 2018, the graphics actually looked miles ahead of what they are in the actual game. However, I haven't experienced any bugs that people have been complaining about on the release day, so I guess that's a good thing. So far since the release, I could see patches coming out every couple months. And the last one so far has been in October. It's middle of January right now, so I hope the game won't get abandoned once it's just playable enough, if you know what I mean. As a very big fan of the game, I just hope they'll keep developing it further. However, considering the game doesn't really have any microtransactions, except for the fact that you can buy a couple skins, I don't really know if it's gonna be worked on for much longer. So far I played the game for around about 30 hours. I finished the Reign of Chaos campaign, haven't started the Frozen Throne yet. And I've spent too much time playing custom maps. So for this review, let's start from the campaign, move to competitive, and then go to custom maps. So it's gonna be 3 parts, alright? Let's get it, guys. Okay, so we have Prologue, Human, Undead, Orc, and Night Elf campaign. You have to play them in order and can't skip. As you can see, I have barely started the Frozen Throne campaign, as I didn't want to get invested just yet. The only difference in the Warcraft 3 Reforged campaign versus the original one is that the prologue is considerably longer. There is a whole other story inside the prologue about Thrall's ship crashing and orcs having to fight Nagas. Because the game is a combination of both Reign of Chaos and Frozen Throne, the Nagas are introduced in the prologue as your main enemy, but they never appear later in the game, until the Frozen Throne at least. I wouldn't call this add-on unnecessary by any means, but I have to say that this didn't add to the main story in any way whatsoever, at least in my personal opinion. Let's just say it wasn't the redemption arc Warcraft 3 Reforged actually needed. And of course I also tested the cheat codes that let you build faster or make you invincible. I didn't want to mess with the authenticity of the game, but I also hate the part where your only goal is to build a capital and a bunch of buildings, so you have to spend like half an hour trying to gather the resources without anything meaningful happening in the story. Moreover, I feel like Warcraft 3 cheats are very similar to the GTA cheats. Maybe not to the same extent, but still. And now that I am 10 or so years older, I can actually hold my ground in those missions where you gotta survive for half an hour. Who would have thought that building towers is literally the cheapest and most efficient way to fight the waves of enemies? Overall, the campaign is just like I remembered it for the most part, which is freaking amazing. The tension between the main characters, the betrayals and alliances, this is literally Game of Thrones for you. Well, except for those parts of Game of Thrones. However, I wouldn't be surprised if there are custom maps out there that will have those parts of Game of Thrones, if you know what I mean. What can I say? There is still a strong community behind the game. Speaking of community, that's my cue to move to the next part of the video. Competitive, or as it's called in the menu, versus. I'll be frank, I haven't played a whole lot of competitive. Why, you may ask? Well, that's a very simple question. Even though there is no voice chat for someone to trash talk you, some people are really good at typing fast. And I can be really sensitive. Especially when rank is at stake, people can be pretty mean. As I've mentioned in one of my CSGO videos, I don't like messing with ranks. However, I can tell you what I've noticed so far. Not from a pro level player, but from someone who has never played actual competitive Warcraft 3 games before. So, first of all, you're prompted to select a race and a game mode. I always thought for some reason that it would be 1v1 or free for all, but apparently you can also play as 2v2, 3v3 and even 4v4. So, if you have some friends who love Civilization or Age of Empires, Warcraft 3 is definitely worth a shot. Then, similar to other comp games, you have to win 5 games to get your rank. And then you play more to rank up. That's pretty much it. Alright, now let's get to my favorite part, which is custom maps. When we got internet at our place when I was like 10 years old, I realized I could play with other people. It's commonplace right now, but back then my mind was blown you could actually do that. It's kind of like custom maps in CSGO, but a whole other energy, if you know what I mean. There are maps like GTA, Twilight, Naruto, and many others. And not just the gameplay, but the skins, items, powers, everything was different. Naruto was popping off back then, and I felt like I was the coolest kid playing those maps. To put it shortly, it's simply been a blast. Plus minus 10 years later, and Blizzard has done a very bad thing. The developers have changed the models and graphics, which made the old custom maps unplayable. And that's of course enraging to an extent, because the community has put thousands of hours developing those over the years. And to be frank, that's the only thing I'm really mad about when it comes to Warcraft. Not about a few bugs or not so good graphics, but the removal of most of the custom maps from the original Warcraft. Right now, there are still a few maps, and I recall playing some of them back in the day. But all the ones remaining are the bigger maps that 90% of people used to play. Unfortunately, all the smaller maps are gone. And I also believe Blizzard has made a point in the agreement claiming all custom maps created for Warcraft 3 Reforged in the future, which essentially means the map can be deleted or made unplayable by Blizzard at any time. And while this does not seem fair at the first glance, it's really a commonplace these days. Take Amazon or Valve for example. So while it does suck and I believe it's hugely unfair, they're not the only ones doing it. They're not the only bad guys, if you know what I mean. So I didn't want to bore you with the custom map, so I'll keep this short. Let's just move to the conclusion now. Anyways, I hope this Warcraft 3 Reforged review wasn't too long. I did try to fit everything I could into this review, including my own biases towards the game. That's probably how some people feel about Halo. You know, just one of those happy place games you had growing up. If you were one of those people waiting for the actual release for months or even years, then you'd be very satisfied with the game. The game does a great job capturing the feel of the old Warcraft with some graphics on top of that. I have not seen it go on sale yet, but for 40 Canadian dollars, it's not a bad deal. Especially considering the fact you get everything included. Well, besides a couple cosmetics that you can buy for another 10 Canadian dollars. If it was a brand new game developers have built from scratch, I would give it 10 out of 10. No questions asked. However, considering developers have not done such thing, instead, they've only added some missions, graphics, and footage to the game, I would give it a 7 out of 10. The reason to 7 out of 10 is I don't really see how people can give it a 2 or a 5 out of 10, considering it's a really playable game with a fairly healthy player base. There is little trash talking or rage quitting comparing to CSGO, for example. Plus, if you ask me, I'd say it's considerably more chill to play. If I needed something to unwind after a long day at work, I would rather play that as opposed to a competitive FPS shooter. But once again, that's just me. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the review. If you did, make sure to very gently tap that like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Any questions or suggestions, leave the comment down below. And lastly, remember to always follow your instinct, sexy beasts.
The sands of time have run out, son of Duratan. The remnants of the past scar the land. Which is besieged once again by conflict. Heroes arise to challenge fate and lead their brethren to battle. As mortal armies rush blindly towards their doom, the burning shadow comes to consume us all. You must rally the Horde and lead your people to their destiny. Seek me out.